Hey everybody, welcome to today's episode of The Geek Perspective. I am your host Roy, and along with my co-host Tom, we are discussing the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 1974. We're doing something a little different. We are starting a new channel, but we want to get a few episodes on our main channel, the Geek Perspective channel, to get it up and going. And so we figured we'd open up with Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and Tom's a big fan, right, Tom?
It is my all-time favorite horror film. One of my all-time favorite films, honestly. I just love it. I love the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's a classic, and just going back and watching it, yeah, so good. I'm very excited to talk about it this week.
Yeah, well, so everybody knows, the 18th of February was released the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie. It was part two to the original. Is that correct?
Yes, it was supposed to be a direct sequel to the original, albeit 50 years later, but it's basically, what happened, anything else within the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise or under that banner of, there's been a lot of, Texas Chainsaw Massacre reboots, whatever, Leatherface, all these others that kind of fall under the umbrella. But this is supposedly, the sequel to the original, which, again, will be next week's episode, guys. So make sure to check that out. This week we're doing the original. Next week we'll review that for you. And yeah, I have a lot of thoughts on the new. Well, I mean, I have a lot of thoughts on both, but I have a lot of thoughts on the new one. So
I can't wait to hear your thoughts on the new one because I have some interesting thoughts also. So that'll be a fun episode also.
Yes, sir.
All right. One thing I didn't realize was that the movie came out in October 1st, 1974. I knew it was 74. I didn't realize it was on my birthday. So everybody knows out there, October 1st is my birthday. You can send gifts. Don't be shy.
Send gifts.
I take cash.
Send gifts. Care of Tom Reading. No, that's I didn't even notice that. That's funny. That's cool.
Yeah, I was like, oh. You just hear 74, and didn't think like I was thinking like May. For some reason, I think horror movies in May. I don't know why, but I seem to think that horror movies in May.
Now, you were born in 70?
Yeah, born 1970, October 1st, 1970.
So that came out on your fourth. So your fourth birthday, that came out.
Yeah.
Did you see it in the theaters?
No, unfortunately. That would have been something. Go to the movie and see the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
I remember the first movie I saw in the theater still.
Which was it?
Maybe I went as a baby and I don't remember it, but the first one, E.T. E.T. And in my town, there was it was like this little building that had, I think, two cinemas in it, old style. And I actually think it was it came back to the theaters at that point because I remember it. And it's like, I don't remember much before 5 years old, 6 years. Right. Even then, I don't remember a lot. So I think it had come back to the theaters when I saw it. But I remember seeing that in the theater. That was the first one I remember.
The first movie I ever saw alone going with friends was Halloween 3.
Year of the Witch, right?
Yes. I remember going to the theater. We're all expecting Michael Myers. And apparently a lot of people in the theater were expecting Michael Myers. So we're all excited. We walked to the theater. Get down. My dog wanted to visit. We walked to the theater. I'll never forget it. We cut through the park. And we were scaring ourselves on the way to the theater, talking about the movie and scary stuff and blah, blah, blah. We get to the theater and sit down and watch it. And all of a sudden, it's something totally different.
Yeah. So, Year of the Witch, as a standalone horror film, is fine. But within that franchise was a very big disappointment. But if you took away, oh, this is supposed to be the Halloween franchise, I think it's a fine film. I think it's fine as a horror film. But yeah, I can see why you would be disappointed with that for sure. Oh, sure. Oh, hey, Linda. Roy? Your volume's out. Can't hear you.
How's that?
Yeah, you go. All of a sudden,
I had to mute myself to yell at the dog.
Okay.
I just brought him outside. He was like, I want to go out again. I'm like, no. The cats are outside. He wants to go out there and chase them down. So yeah, let's get into this movie. So, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, 1974. It was released on October 1st, 1974, ironically. It was only 83 minutes. It was directed by Tobe Hooper, produced by Tobe Hooper, cinematography by Daniel Pearl. When I looked him up, he's not known for a lot of stuff in the horror genre. He did a lot of music videos and music-related stuff, which is kind of weird. And it was distributed by New Line Cinema, and it was another smaller distributor also. But Tobe Hooper, great director of the time. Would you think of him as a director, Tom?
I like so a little bit about that too. We like before we move on is you're talking about like the production and stuff. There's a lot of story that goes into that it was possibly produced in part by the same company that did Hey Hunter, Deep Throat, the X-rated porn there. So that was always a rumor that they were somehow involved, and also possibly that they got some of their funding from the mob, actually, and stuff like that. So they're getting money possibly from two sort of shady enterprises with, and within the porn industry that wasn't very regulated at the time, and through mobsters. Now, I don't know how true all of them are. It depends on kind of who you talk to and stuff, but I always like that too, because it kind of just added a little more grittiness to an already very gritty movie. So, and some like lore behind it. So I always thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. So Marilyn Burns played Sally Hardesty. Is that how you say her name? Hardesty?
Spell it again.
Hardesty.
Yeah, Hardesty.
Hardesty. I knew I was saying it wrong. I'm like, I am not saying this right, and I suspected it. Yes, that Last House on the Left, great movie.
We definitely can.
The original's better though.
Yes. Hey, we can review both.
Yeah.
So,
yes, definitely.
We kind of compare them, but definitely that's a great film. We definitely can do that.
And Marilyn Burns, by the way, she ended up passing away in 2014, sadly. Yeah. And so we lost her. So she's not in the new movie, in case people were wondering. She's not there. Paul A. Parshian, I'm assuming that's how you say that, plays Franklin Hardesty. William Vale, I love that name, Vale. William Vale as Kurt. He doesn't get a last name. His name's just Kurt. You're so important, your name's Kurt.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like you don't deserve a last name. Alan Danziger, another cool name, is Jerry. He ain't that important either. Terry McMinn as Pam. Jim Saito as the old man. Yes.
Jim Saito, which he's popped up in some Rob Zombie films, hasn't he?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah, some of the Rob Zombie horror films. I'm pretty sure he's been in.
John Dugan played Grandpa Sawyer, who was supposed to be in the new game for Texas Chainsaw Massacre. If you're a gamer, in about a year, the new game is supposed to be coming out. He's supposed to
Can't
be
wait.
in it. And Gunnar Hansen, the man himself, Gunnar Hansen, the late great Gunnar Hansen, played Leatherface.
I wish I could have met him before he passed away in 2015, I believe. Yeah, it's just, yeah, would have been really cool, being such a big fan and everything. I mean, we got to meet Bob Elmore, which is cool. He played it in the second Texas Chainsaw Massacre after, back in the day, which was cool. He's very cool, very nice guy and everything. But it would be awesome to meet Gunnar Hansen. Would have been. So.
Well, Kane Hodder actually made a couple comments. I guess him and Gunnar were really good friends. And in the game, he tries to duplicate Gunnar Hansen's famous chainsaw dance.
The dance?
Yeah. And he said it was the ultimate tribute that he could do was do that dance for the game. And he said how difficult it really was. Yeah, we'll get on that, Hunter.
Yeah, we will, Hunter. We will review both.
And someone's here. That's my dog in the background freaking out that someone just came. And when Neil, as a hitchhiker, he was a crazy character.
Yes. Oh God. Yes, he was a crazy character. And once we kind of start talking about the movie, yeah, I got like this. I'll say this now. We'll get more into it later, I guess. There's a lot of these performances are very 1970s acting performances. So, but yeah, it was a pretty crazy character. Like the whole when we're introduced to him in the van and everything, it's a pretty wild character for sure.
Oh yeah, I think he was one of the coolest characters.
Yeah,
I remember watching the movie originally, and when I first saw it the very first time, I don't know how old I was. I was probably my early teens anyway, if not younger. And I just remember the movie just seemed to take forever. And I think I told you through text that I appreciated it more now than I did back then. And even when I saw it a few times later, because I've seen it like 3 or 4 times. And I appreciate the movie more now than I did back then. I think it was partly because of Mr. Neal. I think that was part of the reason. Because he did a great character.
Yeah. I have not seen Lady in White, but I am adding it to my watch list for right now.
Yeah, I haven't seen that either.
I think Shay was asking me about it too. I'd seen it too, so
yeah.
I'll put it in my watch list.
So, in case you've been living under a bus and have never seen or heard of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, it's basically about a bunch of friends who go to one of their friends' family's homestead after going to the grave because they thought in the air people were robbing graves. So they want to check the grave, and they figure, oh, let's go to the old grandfather's homestead and check it out. And it's been abandoned, and couples tend to wander off. And of course, in a horror movie, when you wander off, you usually run into the killer. And
Yep.
Basically what happened, and as far as that goes, it was the typical format, but you know what? It was done really well.
It was. And you got to remember, too, this was 1974,
Yes.
so that format wasn't as typical as it is now.
Yeah. They basically started it, I think, in my opinion.
Yeah, they were one. If they didn't, they were one of the originators of that sort of style to it. And so you got to think, back in 1974, this is just like mind blowing. Because I remember my mom, the movie Rosemary's Baby. So classic film, love it. But saw it probably 10, 11 years old, whatever, young. We grew up in the 80s. We were allowed to watch our movies when we were young because we grew up in the 80s. It wasn't a big deal. Oh, crap. Everything just left my brain.
Welcome to my life.
What was I talking about? I don't remember what I was talking about.
Well, I could add something to that. I guess one of the rumors is that Toby Hooper got the story, or someone got the story from a movie from the '60s. I can't remember the name of the movie, but I guess a lot of the Texas Chainsaw aspect came from that movie, and some people believe that's where they get some of the stuff from.
All right, I remember what I was saying. So I was talking about Rosemary's Baby, and I remember her telling me she saw it in the theaters when she was young, and how scary it was, and just how everybody just shocked about the ending, everything like that, and nothing had been seen at that. They hadn't never seen anything like that at the time. Now, when I saw it at 10, 11, I had grown up with, Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th and all those, so it kind of like desensitized to it. So I can only imagine. I wish I could have seen Texas Chainsaw Massacre in 1974 when it came out. So, yeah, it's thank you, Linda. Thank you. Yeah, I don't know why I lost that, but
You should just come on and be a producer of our show.
yeah, definitely. We'll definitely talk about Rosemary's Baby in a future episode, because I mean it's a classic. It's unbelievable. You've seen it, right, Roy?
Yes.
Okay, I was gonna say.
Yeah.
I think everybody has.
My mother told me to see that movie, actually.
Yeah, my mom, same thing. My mom's into horror, so
yeah, my mom got me into horror.
Yes, I've seen all of them, Hunter.
I love Jessica Biel. Didn't like that movie. It was a good horror movie, but it wasn't, in my opinion,
it wasn't great at all.
Masterpiece of one.
Yeah, it wasn't great.
And that's hard to do. There are very few movies that.
There's a lot of stinkers in this within the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise. I'm not, even though it's one of my all-time favorites, there's a lot of stinkers in there for sure. For sure.
So, as I was saying earlier, like, I really appreciated this movie more watching it now than I did as a kid. I respected it a lot more. It didn't seem as slow as it did when I was a kid. 83 minutes isn't a long time, but as a kid, was that?
That's barely like above what it takes to actually consider a full-length feature film.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's less than a feature film. It's like,
yeah,
as a kid, I was like watching paint dry. I'm like, come on, get to the action,
Isn't that funny? As a kid, an hour and 20 minutes seems so long as a child, and it's like, it's no time. In fact, the new one's an hour and 23 minutes, and it should have been longer, actually, the new one. It should have been.
So what are your initial thoughts?
Initial thoughts?
Yeah, like overall of the movie, like from seeing it now versus seeing it as a child.
Oh, I love it. A lot of things stuck out to me in it. Like, first of all, and for anybody out there, just because not everybody probably remembers all the characters' names and everything. So,
hey, Lone Star Crew,
hey, Lone Star. Hey, thanks for popping in, guys.
I was thinking about you guys recently, actually.
So,
I got a new spicy challenge coming up, actually, Tom.
Yeah.
Did I tell you?
Nope.
All right, go on with your thought. I'm gonna get the challenge.
Okay. So I'll refer to her as the final girl, the final girl in the film, because you guys might not remember all these characters' names, and but God bless her. And she rewatching this, I didn't realize that she basically screams for 90% of this movie. She is just screaming, getting chased, screaming. And now I know in Hollywood, at least I know now, that a lot of the times in horror films, the screams are actually not done by the actors. They have actual actors and actresses, or just actors as we call them now, that can do a lot of different types of screams. Like, they classify them as like a scared scream versus a happy scream versus a blah, blah, blah. and they have those that they can plug into the movie for these people. I don't know if they had that at this time or used that at the time, even if they did for this movie, because God bless her, she screams like it's like, and part of it is like, why are you gotta stop screaming? You're running, you're getting chased. Don't scream. You need to hide, not scream your bloody murder. So
hence the Scream Queens.
yes. But yeah, it's like most of the movie. I was like, holy crap, this poor girl, woman. But I watch it back. I mean, I love it, and even seeing it 1,000 times, like I have, I notice new things, or I get a newer appreciation for it. I said earlier about sort of it's a lot of the acting is very 70s style, which is, you know, like acting through the centuries has progressed, and to the point where, now when you're watching movies, it's all about realism. It's all about, just being as real as possible. But it used to be more presentational style, through the centuries and then through the decades of this century. It was more presentational, more show you everything, while I'm acting. And you see that in this film, where in newer films, it's more like, everything's grounded and supposed to be more realistic. So I really like that, because it harkens back to a different time, and it has a different feel. It's like you're watching this and it was made a long time ago. And then on top of the fact that when I rewatched it again, I did that with the 4K resolution, like where it's sort of been cleaned up a little bit. It's still so gritty. And that adds so much to it. The cinematography, that grittiness. And, Rob Zombie and Quentin Tarantino have actually put elements of that into their newer movies. If you watch Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, it's not horror, that 70s style film and stuff. And I just love that, where it's imperfect and just kind of gritty and grainy at points. And it's just, I every time I watch it, I find more and more I love about it. Or more and more that I noticed. Like I said, I never really had paid attention to that poor girl screaming. So it's, yeah, I mean, what about you?
Yeah, I think you hit it on the head. I think the grittiness, when I'm watching that movie, I'm thinking, oh, I miss the days of the old, gritty, it's not perfectly beautiful horror movie picture. It was grainy, it was gritty. You had that feel of the 70s. You had that feel of the heat in Texas. Like, I could almost feel it, and that all brought it all together for me.
Yeah, it's so good. And I just want to say, I'm not making fun of the performances, because I appreciate their performances. I'm just saying it's 70s style. Like, I don't think they're bad performances. And in fact, Gunnar Hansen, he went to a home for mentally challenged people that suffer from mental retardation and stuff, and just kind of studied mannerisms and movements, and kind of based Leatherface's movements. And I think the other actors kind of got on board too, like Hitchhiker, sort of, even though it's a little different. I believe he, got on board with that sort of thing, to bring that into the performance, and it's not like Leatherface is just has, I don't know, Down syndrome or something, you know what I mean? It's just like a part of the performance, and I think it's really cool, and I do, and and I think that helped him get his famous, the dancing with the chainsaw, like the famous scene. So just wanted to throw that in, because
speaking of characters, that's another thing. I really like these characters. I like the actors. The acting wasn't the greatest, but it was a 1974 horror movie. You weren't getting the A-list movie stars for a horror movie back then. But the actors still made me feel for them. I've seen horror movies where I hate the people and you want the killer to just wipe them out.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't feel that way. You should feel for the characters. If you can't feel for the characters, I've actually not seen movies and TV shows because I just hated the characters. In this movie, they did a good job. I actually felt for them.
Speaking of characters, what are your thoughts on the brother in the wheelchair? That, of the friend, that tags along on the trip with the brother there. His performance did leave me confused at points, because at some points it seemed like maybe he did have some sort of mental disability, because he would sticks out his tongue and does like an 8-year-old, but then other points he seems like just a normal, adult or 20-something guy. So
yeah, I can get a disability.
Yeah, so
it might not have been as severe, maybe. I wonder, like, why would you bring somebody in a wheelchair to where they were going?
That's a good question too, because probably the house is not gonna have, the homestead is not gonna be wheelchair accessible. It's probably not up to the disability codes that we have nowadays, where so.
And I know that wasn't the plan. It was supposed to go into the graveyard and probably go home, but you always plan. I've always oh, we go here, we might do something else. There was no plan of well, what if we do this? Let's bring somebody in a wheelchair. So I was that's one thing that I never get back.
Or if you're gonna do it, the trip is planned much better than that, than sort of just hopping in a van. If you're bringing a guy that's bound to a wheelchair for whatever reason, yeah, that's a lot of extra planning and packing and stuff you gotta prepare for. But
then they leave them. Then they leave them. Two of them leave them, and yeah, we're going on for. I'm like, dude, because if that was me, I'd be like, you ain't going nowhere. We are going, or you ain't going.
There's no TV, nothing there, so it's But that's what makes a horror movie too. So some of the nonsensical elements you need to make that horror movie. So
speaking of horror movies, what do you think of the killings?
I like them. I like the whole scene within the house and everything. I just think they're just some classic kills. And what I liked about the kills in this one versus, and we'll get more into this on the following episode, on the newer one, they were a bit more grounded in reality, the kills. Yeah. So it's that's why I appreciate it more. In the newer one, there's some, and we'll be talking on our next episode about it, that it's just what a cool visual, but it wouldn't
I have some trivia for everybody.
Yeah.
I think it was the first killing. I'm going to spoil it. So spoiler in a couple seconds. So if you don't want to know, if you somehow
this movie only came out 50 years ago, guys.
Yeah, right. If you haven't seen this, whatever. When I can't remember who it was, but when the dude was going in the house, the first couple that wandered off, the first guy that got killed, and he went in the house and he stumbled forward through the doorway where Leatherface was. Remember that?
Yep.
Well, I guess that wasn't supposed to happen. I don't know if you know that or not.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, me either. I read something that said that wasn't supposed to happen. What happened was the actor, the Gunnar Hansen was so convincing that when they film scenes, the actors would be like, "Oh fuck, I gotta do the scene." It just, they got into it so much that when he was going forward, he was kind of not freaking out, but like getting anxious.
Yeah,
and he fell and stumbled forward by accident, and it worked out so well they decided to keep it in the movie.
Oh, I love stuff like that.
They didn't put it in the extra credits of the film. They don't know why they didn't put it in, but They just left it in because it worked so well. You're supposed to walk over, and then you're supposed to grab him, but he stumbled into him, and I think that is so cool. Like, an accident happens, it makes the scene better, so you think, so you just keep it in there.
And to your point, I'm glad you talked about Gunnar Hansen. So apparently, like, and I've heard different stories and stuff, but and this is common on films, but a lot of times between takes, he's staying in character, to keep it going, and to plus they're on a tight budget and all this stuff. That people, like, some of the other actors were legitimately afraid of him. Like, and thought that he was kind of crazy, and he may have done some things that weren't necessarily, and nothing bad, but done some things that like pranks or whatever that kind of played into it, that people said. But some of the actors were supposedly legitimately afraid of him, and which is awesome, and is only going to help the movie and only going to help their performance, as long as it stays professional. I'm not saying they should do anything that's unprofessional, but I love that. So you're a big your favorite is Friday the 13th.
Yes.
Your favorite franchise.
The king of movies.
And and that has the supernatural elements to it. The reason I love Texas Chainsaw Massacre is that there's no supernatural elements to it. They based it off of Ed Gein, and it's very different than Ed Gein. I mean, he wasn't necessarily doing that. I mean, he did a lot of those things. When they went in his house, they found furniture made out of human body parts, and lampshades made out of human skin, and all that stuff. But I really like, I think that's part of the appeal for me too, is that not so much that it's a real person, but it's just so grounded in, like, okay, this is a crazy person. There's no supernatural elements to it. Now, what are your thoughts on that? Does that do you prefer it when there's a supernatural element in horror, because it does lend itself to more sequels and all that stuff? Or
I love Friday the 13th. It's my favorite franchise, not because it's the greatest franchise in the world, because it's not by any stretch of the imagination, but because it's fun. And Jason Voorhees as a character is a badass character, except when they made him supernatural, and that was kind of like, geez. And I get it, because if you watch Friday the 13th, he goes around that camp like he's in a spaceship half the time. So it's like,
that's the point.
So they're like, something's gonna be up there. But so I'm just not a big fan of the supernatural aspect necessarily, but I understand why they did it for that. I love that, like they made it into a realistic character, which to me is different, because a lot of times, especially nowadays, sometimes people cheat. It's easy to make someone supernatural. It's easy to make him reasonable of doing things. Whereas Leatherface, he's pure man. Even Halloween. Look at Halloween. Now there's speculation that Michael Myers might not be human. It's like, come on. He was supposed to be the greatest human killer of all time, and now you just screw that up,
I mean, they legit said that he's no longer human on Halloween anymore. Jamie Lee Curtis there says, he's no longer a man.
He's the last great killer of horror movies that's human.
That's interesting, because I never really asked you about that. So that's what I really like. And guys, if you're interested in learning more, the performance or the movie, it's based on Ed Gein, serial killer. And if you're into that type of stuff, do a Google search of that, or Wikipedia or something. It's really fascinating. Other movies have been based character, Silence of the Lambs, based part of the character on Ed Gein, and what was the other one? There's another one, but it's a pretty fascinating story, Ed Gein. It's if that's your bag, if that's what you're into.
So what is your feeling for the overall story of the first movie?
I think it's fine, and it's just, I mean, it's simple. It's they set it up. They we're going, and going to this homestead, and they stop at the cemetery on the way, and then go to the homestead, and I like it because it's not super convoluted. It's not. It's just basic. Hey, we show up, and then we stumble upon they pick up they get that weird hitchhiker, and then they get him out, and because he's acting weird and cuts himself, which is just a very strange scene when he's just kind of like in there with the knife and just like looking at him, and it's like, what the hell is going on with this guy? Why is he cutting himself? And it's they get rid of him. They show up, they stumble upon the house while they're out for a walk, and that's the end of it. Essentially, they all.
And actually, if you watch, bit of point you brought up about the guy cutting the hitchhiker cutting his hand. I guess one of the famous things in the movie is he cuts himself, but then later in the movie there's a scene where he's not cut anymore. So if you watch really? That, yeah, there's a scene where he's not cut anymore. I can't remember what specific scene it is, but there's a scene
that happens in movies and in the editing and stuff. I mean, you see it
everything all the time. That makes the movie even better, I think.
Yeah, you see it in new
something
movies.
To look for,
new TV shows. Remember, like Game of Thrones? A Starbucks coffee showed up in a shot in Game of Thrones. You'll see it in editing, and people are human and they miss things. But yeah, it is cool, and then it makes for cool trivia too. Later. So
as far as the story, didn't you get the feeling that the story just flowed? It was a simple story. They didn't get too like crazy, create all this ridiculousness. It was a simple little story. They get the actors or the characters where they needed to be bludgeoned by Leatherface. That's all it was.
Yeah,
it was simple, but it worked.
Sometimes that's the best. The saying, "Kiss, keep it simple, stupid."
Yep. This was the ultimate kiss.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's why I appreciate this movie so much. Between seeing Gunnar Hansen again, the story itself, the actors, like there was nothing about this movie that I would say, but the actor wasn't the greatest. Didn't care because the actors had me still feeling for them.
Yeah.
And I want to feel something for the people that are being bludgeoned. if you're being killed in a movie and I don't care, someone didn't do their job. Whether the writers, producers, the actors, someone didn't do their job. But.
So, what are your thoughts on the fact that they just call him the hitchhiker, and they just call him the chef, and then they just call him or the cook, or is it the cook or the chef? I've drawn a blank now. And cook. then there's Leatherface, which makes sense. But any thoughts on that? Do you think they should have names?
Hitchhiker, Leatherface. Yeah. It's like you're down here, he's way up here.
Yeah,
it's got like no last name.
Yeah, I mean, did that take anything away from you that they didn't actually name the characters? I like it personally that they you don't know their names.
I think it added to the story because you're wondering, well, who is this person? Like, what's his story? And again, I found myself wondering about that. Like,
I agree. 100%.
I'm like, I forgot this character. He doesn't have a name. What's his backstory? Like, what, it had me wondering, maybe in the game we'll find out more about him.
Yeah, maybe. I can't wait for that game.
Tom and I are both buying the same system, and we are going to be playing this game together, getting killed together, or killing me, one of the two. So we plan on doing this for the channel.
Yeah.
We're both buying. Well, we're both going to have Oculuses, and we'll be doing some virtual reality stuff.
I'll have mine tomorrow, and you already have your Oculus, and then Derek's
Linda, get an Oculus. Wish I had it in front of me. I'd show it. I don't have it in
It's
front of me. Actually,
yeah, and
okay,
Derek's got one, so it's gonna be cool. Yeah, I can't wait. I just got I
Long
got it in
Crew,
my
get one. Woo!
so awesome. Yeah.
But so we have more content coming, and Tom and I are going to be starting the horror channel soon. We want to get some content built up, and then we're going to be going over to the horror from this channel. Will be moved over to that channel, and if anyone wants to be on the show, talk about horror movies, I think Tom and I would both love to have people on the show.
Yeah,
I think Linda would be a good person to have on the show.
I
Rich
agree.
would be a good person to have on the show.
Yeah.
Hunter seems like he watches a lot of movies, and we might have some guests on talking about movies, and even if it's in general, it doesn't have to be a specific movie. Even Tom and I both love talking horror movies. So
I do.
So Tom, what would you give this movie?
So for me,
What was your rating? 1 out of 10.
Oh, 10. I was going 5.
Let's go 5.
All right, so 5. I would give. God, I would give this 4 3/4 chainsaws right now out of 5. And I want to give it 5, but like I don't know that any movie is perfect. So that's why I just deduct 1/4 of a chainsaw off it. Because yeah, it's just one of my all-time favorites. It's simple. It's not like you're not going in this and it's not like profound in some sort of intellectual way, but it's just a classic for me, and I just love it. So yeah, 4 3/4. What about you?
I give it a solid 4. And if you asked me a year ago, without seeing the movie, just knowing the story, blah blah blah, I probably would have said a 3.
Wow.
Yeah, and because all I remember is like even watching it years later, just how slow the beginning was, and then when I watched it last week, I was like, "This is awesome. This is one of the best movies." And I think part of it is a lot of the movies we have today for horror in general. And I've been watching a lot of horror lately. You know this. Every Sunday, I've been watching a lot of horror lately. I think Rich is on it like a hornet. Rich is getting Oculus. I forgot where I was going. What was I talking about?
You were talking every Sunday. You watch horror movies.
Movies were okay, but compared to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, this is up here. And I know it's Tobe Hooper, and I get that. I know it was 1974. Tom and I are both older. We appreciate older horror, good horror. And yeah, I just think that was part of it also. Like, some things just, it's not dated.
No,
it is not dated. And when you consider that about any movie, you've got something special, in my opinion.
I agree. I think that's very well said.
So yeah, I give it a solid 4.
Nice. Yeah. So next week, guys, we'll be reviewing the one that just came out a couple weeks ago. At this point, like 3 weeks ago or so?
Yep.
Will be our next episode. So stay tuned.
There may be some more comments on that one.
Yes, and just a little teaser for it. I liked it, but I do have some issues with it.
Yes, same here.
Overall, I liked it, but I got a lot to say about the new one.
And some of the issues I have were this movie didn't have those issues, which is why I love this movie. If it gives you a tip or a hint. Everything I loved about this movie, some of the things that movie didn't have, and that was my problem with it.
That's a good point. One of my biggest problems is something that we discussed. What we really liked about this movie,
same here,
is one of my biggest problems with the new one. So, Yeah, it's gonna be a fun one, guys. So make sure
Yes, it is.
check it out. And guys, if you are like want to watch the original on Prime, they have it, and it's remastered a little bit, where it just like they cleaned it up a little, but it's right on Prime. So check it out. Oh, what do we got? Trouble Bubble. Oh God, hot bubble gum.
Yeah, I
Oh God,
believe it's 16 million capsaicin crystals.
why?
Yep, 16 million.
Why? Why?
Because somebody I went to school with sent me a message saying, "Hey, I got a challenge for you guys."
Oh my God, hot bubble gum. Oh.
So I'm going to be doing this. It's some of the people that do challenges like I do sometimes, but they have huge channels. They say this is tough. So yeah, so this should be interesting.
Yeah, that seems like bad news. Chewing bubble, like chewing
All I
bubble
have
gum.
to do is, I think I get a blow like 1 or 2 or 3 bubbles.
Okay, I was gonna say they better make you have to blow a bubble in this challenge.
Yeah, I think I think it's a bubble. I think you have to chew it up to blow a bubble. I think it's 1
Hunter
bubble.
did
I think
it.
it's 2 or 3. Yeah, I'm expecting it. 15 minutes to me is fine. When it's longer than that is when I have a problem.
Yeah, 15 minutes actually doesn't. Well,
I'm
for me, I'd
expecting-
be die. I'd be dead.
I was expecting about that time, but I'm gonna make sure I have Dairy Queen Frap, a Dairy Queen Blizzard, and I'll be good to go.
Nice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
Hunter.
When I did the Death Nut, it was the chocolate milk and the ice cream are the only thing that saved me.
We gotta do the that soda challenge, but I want to do that together when it warms up. Hopefully,
What
you and Derek
challenge?
can do. That's the soda with the grass, the dirt.
Oh, the flavor, the weird
soda,
flavors.
Flavored soda, the nasty flavored sodas.
Yeah.
But I want to do that here. Maybe do it outside or something to have fun with it.
Yeah.
Get Derek to come over.
Yeah.
Maybe we
I'll
haven't gotten
definitely.
together in a while. Maybe see if Linda wants to come over.
Yeah, because me and Linda still got to do that gross green bowl one thing.
Yeah, still having there.
We just haven't.
I would rather do this than do that, which tells you something.
Yeah, but for me, I can deal with the bad taste, but it's the heat. Like I said, I don't even enjoy spicy food anymore. It sucks. Ever since that, it ruined me.
I think you would if you could try like a green pepper, then slowly start ramping up a tiny bit at a time. I bet you could. You just got to try to start really low.
It sucks. It's like I can barely, because I used to like a mild spice. Now I just don't like nothing. I just
Yeah.
Sucks. But yeah. So anything else?
Nope, that's it. That is it. So guys, stay tuned for the Terra TV Twins channel. Will be coming up soon. We want to build up some stuff. Ray does this and that. Don't get fooled. Yeah, we got a new channel coming out. Like I said, I want to build up some episodes, and we can promote the channel on here for a little bit, and then start the new channel, and that way we can get some stuff up. Have some good quality stuff to talk about with you guys. So I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. If you guys have stuff you want us to discuss, yes, Sounds of the Lambs, great movie.
We definitely will, Hunter.
Definitely will, Hunter. Keep on us about that.
Derek's just working today, and he's busy. I haven't even seen Derek in months. Honestly,
I saw his girlfriend more recently than I saw him.
Yeah,
we don't work together anymore, so
yeah, it's been crazy. We all Roy got a new job, and schedules have just kind of clashed, and that's why there hasn't been much content with the three of us in a really long time. And even with just two of us, there hasn't been much, just because different schedules. But hopefully, the weather's getting nice. Hopefully, we kind of will get back into a more routine, and Derek will be popping up. He's also not a huge horror guy. So I as far as the horror channel goes, I picture him kind of popping in and out more, as opposed to the geek perspective, which is more his speed and everything like that with the anime and stuff. So
yeah, Comic-Con's ramping up with all the guests, so we can talk more about that, and more anime people will be coming, I'm sure, this year. So we can talk about whether we're going to even do it or not. I'm so leaning more against. I'm like, I don't think I really want to do this. I like go. I like the idea of us going.
Yeah, I'm all for, like, I think we should just go Sunday. You can
do the same thing.
You can if you want to come down Saturday, spend the night, we can go get up on Sunday and go, and you can even spend the night again Sunday night. You know what I mean? Or whatever, however we want to do it. I mean, I was going back and forth because you talked about it being the 10th anniversary, which would be cool, but I think still being the 10th anniversary,
nothing gonna change. Still gonna be a long ass weekend.
We can still have fun just going Sunday. So I think that
I think have more fun because we can get what we want, see what we want. If you want an autograph, we can get an autograph. I'm like, maybe cool to get a professional one.
Yeah. No,
if they're a cool group or something,
Yeah, I think that's the way to go. But we still got time, so we can decide. But it's
I'm with you on that. I am 100% with you on that. Because if I think about it now, it's like I don't want to. And it's not a year away from it too. It's like, boy, that was nice not having to worry about that. It really was.
It's a long, tough week. I mean, this year wasn't like there was some problems, but I was able to do a lot of what I wanted and stuff, and being like a senior member on the team over there and stuff. But still, it's a long weekend, and even I had a bust out. I made an excuse. I was like, I got a family thing on Sunday. I got to go, which I met up with a friend. We walked around for a couple hours, then took off. But it's like, it's tough, man, being on your feet all weekend. I was down in the dunk this year, and it was, it's a hard floor because they just put wood over the ice, and
it's cold.
Yeah, and you're just standing there, and it's like, it's a long weekend, but it's fun for you young guys. So I don't know how you are.
I'm 51 years old. I don't want to be doing that.
I'm 41.
It's like I just want to go and have fun.
But if I don't know your age, Hunter, but if you're young, it's a good time. If you volunteer at a con, it's a great time. You get a chance to meet a lot of Walking Dead people too, a lot of the actors. Mm-hmm. It's a young man's game.
Yeah. For sure. All right, guys. Well, thank you for watching our show today. And if you have episodes you guys want us to review, or shows, TV shows, movies you want us to review, type down them below. Send us a message. We're willing to review anything, especially if it's horror. So let us know. So that is it. I got a bubblegum challenge coming up. Next week, we have the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022 to review, which will be very interesting. So for Tom and myself, everybody, thank you for watching. Thank you for staying loyal. And we'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye. Peace out.